Hello, welcome here or welcome back. My name is Michaela. I'm a wife, a mom, and a knitter from British Columbia, Canada, and this is Galanthus Knits. Hello, it's been a little while since I've done a podcast episode, like regular, just talking about my knitting. And so I thought I would just sneak one in at the beginning of June. I am about to go on a trip to France with my family, with my husband and my daughter, to attend a wedding. So we'll be gone for 3 weeks almost, I think, in total. I'm in the wedding party, so there's like extra stuff to do at the beginning. But anyway, I wanted to get this filmed and out before I go because I think my brain will just be kind of all over the place once we're there. And then once we get back, I'll be, recovering and jet lagged and whatever for a while. So anyway, I leave on Friday. Today is Tuesday? Today is Tuesday. We leave on Friday. So I've got a few days to edit and get this out. But Tuesday, June 3rd. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, as you can see, I am wearing something that you have never seen before because I casted it on and then finished it within the between times, between videos. So this, of course, is a Ranunculus, and this is a very, very, very popular pattern. I think the most popular knitting pattern on Ravelry, possibly. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I think it is. So I casted this on and finished it within 3 weeks. And I haven't woven the ends in yet, so they're kind of tucked in different places. And I do actually think that I'm going to add length to it because it's not very long. So I did want it to be cropped, but maybe not this cropped. So I think I'm going to add maybe 3 more centimeters to the twisted rib at the end, and then it will maybe sit more at my natural waist. I wasn't really sure how much this yarn would stretch out post blocking, so I kind of just left it shorter, but I will unpick the Italian bind off and then do it again. I knitted this in the size 4. But I used 5.5 millimeter needles instead of the recommended 6 millimeter. It's either 6 or 6.5. I used 5.5, so I went a needle size down, and then I did the size 4. But then I finished kind of the increases that you're supposed to do for the size 4, and then decided that it wasn't quite deep enough for my armpit, so I actually continued on to do a little bit more increases. So it's size 4 made slightly larger, but with smaller needles, if that makes sense. Anyway, and it worked out. And I knitted this for a couple reasons. I was craving something that I could wear for myself that would be a little bit quick to knit up, which this was. I wanted to dip my toes into summer knitting because I haven't really done that much summer knitting at all. I haven't knit any like camisoles or anything like that. I've never done that. So I thought something like this that's kind of loose and airy that I can throw over a summer dress if I wanted to would be kind of a little taste of what summer knitting could be. And the other thing was that I just wanted to find out what the hype was about with the Ranunculus. And I think I found out a little bit why it's so popular. It definitely has a lot of options that you can do. Wider neckline, shorter, or like more cinched in neckline, wider neckline. The sizes, obviously, the sleeve length, the different gauges that you can knit it on. It works out in so many different gauges. The one thing that I actually appreciated about the pattern that I didn't know, and maybe people know this, but I didn't know this before starting, was that the yoke, the whole lace motif, like this whole section of your shirt is exactly the same no matter what size you're doing. So you could knit this before you even decide what size you need to knit, because it only matters like when you start doing the kind of raglan increases that are here. And so that's what makes it the size that you wanted. So yeah, it's kind of nice that you don't really have to make a decision if you're like not really sure how loose or how tight you want it. And then also if you decide that you want it a bit looser or a bit tighter or whatever, you only have to rip back to the top of the bottom of the motif rather. And you don't have to start completely over, if that makes sense. So that was really cool and interesting. I didn't know that. I tried to do the smaller neckline, which starts off with, is it tubular? A tubular cast on, I think. You start with provisional and then you end up working some double knitting for a while anyway, there's some sort of magic trick. I've never done a cast on like that before. And actually I did not enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the process and I didn't enjoy the look. So I ended up ripping back and then just doing a long tail cast on. And I was like, it'll just sit how it sits, I guess. And I mean, it's pretty good. It's kind of more or less what I was hoping for. So I didn't do the recommended cast on for that. The other thing that I did is that the Ranunculus is meant to be shaped kind of like a boat neck style, but I really, really don't like things sitting like here-ish. Like if it's a turtleneck, let it be a turtleneck. But if it's not, then I don't want it up on my neck. So there's short row shaping in the front and the back to make that boat neck style, and I omitted the short rows in the front completely. There's less of a gap, like there isn't a gap before the motif starts, whereas in the pattern there's more, because there's short rows, there's a little bit more stockinette in this area before the motif starts, but mine is right up against the ribbing. So those are my modifications. The yarn I used was the Plucky Knitters Rambouillet. I actually really enjoy working with Rambouillet. I have worked with it quite a few times, and I think it's a really nice kind of mid-textured or mid-softness wool. Like it's not too scratchy, and it's definitely not soft like merino, but it's not itchy like other wools. And it also wears pretty decently, I have found, at least the ones that I've used. So yeah, it was the Plucky Knitters Rambouillet. This is in the color Queen Bee, but the color that I used was called Prickly Pear. And it doesn't actually say the weight of this yarn. I bought this yarn on Facebook Marketplace, and it never like said what it was, but I think it's kind of a sport weight. It's not quite a fingering, it's not quite a DK, it's definitely kind of in between. So I'd call this a sport weight, but it doesn't say, and I couldn't find it on the website, this exact one. But yeah, I bought it on Facebook Market. I have 3 skeins of this one called Queen Bee, and then I had 3 skeins of this one, and now I have like 1 and 2/3 left over. So I only use like 1 skein and a third to knit this, but I'm gonna make the bottom a little bit longer, so I might use like 1.5 skeins, I guess. So it's not too much. I could like knit another exactly like this if I wanted to in the same color with the yarn that I actually have left over. But yeah, I like how it turned out. I like the color. Someone saw me knitting this in church and said, that's very Shrek. So that impacts the way that I look at it a little bit, but whatever. I like it. It's very mossy, and it's very vibrant. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but it is like under certain lightings, it looks almost fluorescent, which is like a little bit too much for me, but it depends on the lighting that you're in. So yeah, my Ranunculus. And I'm going to take this to France with me once I extend the ribbing, or maybe I'll try to do that on the plane or something. I have a couple of finished objects to talk about, and one of these I mentioned, or like you've seen it before in my last video, but my last video wasn't a regular podcast video, so I'm just gonna quickly go over it again. This is the Porcelain sweater by Holme Samsøe, but it's the junior version. So it's finished. I always knit a little bit of my hair into all of my knitting, so I'm finding it. Okay, look how big it is, first of all. Whoop. It's huge. So I knitted the 2 year or size 2 to 3 years or whatever. And I did go up a half a needle size from what the pattern calls for. I think it called for a 3 millimeter and I did a 3.5 millimeter. So I knew that my gauge was going to be slightly bigger. I did do a swatch at the beginning just to test it out. I knew that it was slightly bigger. It was like half a stitch bigger, I want to say. But with kid knits and baby knits, it's kind of like, it's whatever. Like they'll grow into them eventually and it's nice to have it oversized. But I didn't anticipate how incredibly oversized this was going to be. I don't know if maybe the pattern is already written to be slightly oversized for the size that you're meant to do it in, if that makes sense. But it's massive. Like, it's, my daughter absolutely swims in this, and she's about to turn 2. But I don't think she's going to be wearing this comfortably for a couple of years, which is fine, but it's just way bigger than I thought. Yeah. The yarn that I used for the main color it was like a cotton and merino blend. Sardar maybe? I'll write it on the side what it was. I can't remember. And then almost all the contrast colors, I used Myrtle Yarns, who is a hand dyer here in British Columbia. She's based in Vancouver. And I bought her summer set, I think it was called, something like that, last year to do some fun color work with. So the blue, the pink, and the purple come from that set. And then the green is a mini skein that I picked up at Flock Fiber Festival. And then the yellow is a sock yarn that I picked up just at a nearby yarn store because I needed like a more pale yellow. And yeah, so it came together really nicely. Very big, very fun, very colorful. She really likes it, but she knows that it's too big for her right now. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but I hope she still likes it by the time she grows into it. We'll see. I don't know. You may have noticed another finished object. So I finished the Stella Quilt cushion cover, and it's sitting on one of my cushions right now just to show you. But I'm going to pack it up because it is the wedding gift for my friend Elena, who's getting married in a few weeks in France. So I'm going to bring it with me, not the pillow, just the cover. And these are her wedding colors. I've talked about this quite a few times. So if you've been on the channel before, then you know what this is and the reasons behind it and whatever. But I wanted to make her a gift that could be enjoyed by both her and her husband, that yeah, not something that like an individual person would wear. So I decided on this, and yeah, her wedding colors are Garden Party Pastel, and that's her like dress code and whatever. And all the bridesmaids are wearing a different color. I am the yellow one, and yeah, so that was my thought process behind this. And for the back, there's a couple options that Laura Penrose gives in the pattern to do for the back. You can do like a zipper close, or you can do like an envelope close. But I actually ended up doing like a button close, and I'll show you what it looks like. So yeah, one of the options for the backing is that you work short rows in like a triangular way. So you're picking up stitches along the edges, and then you're kind of like short rowing it all the way. And then you're meant to pick up stitches again and short row it the way back. But then I just decided that I was going to bind it off, or I knitted a little bit extra while doing decreases. Then I sewed this down at the end so that there was a bit of a flap, an overflap, if that makes sense. And then I did the exact same thing that I did on this side, and I just did the short rows all the way up, and then yeah, sewed it down on the inside, and then I added buttons and buttonholes at the very end. And I think this is really nice. I know not everybody wants like buttons on their pillows. I think it's really cute, especially as like a decorative pillow on a couch or something like that. This is really easy to remove, undo the buttons, take it off the pillow, clean it, whatever. And I like that it sort of mirrors the way that I've done it. It mirrors the triangular motif on the front, because you can see that everything is kind of worked in triangles, and so the back just echoes that as well. I used a Barocco Alpaca Light in the color White Winter, I think, as my main color. And then all of my contrast colors are skeins that I picked up at Flock Fiber Festival last summer. Most of them are mini skeins. The only one that wasn't is the yellow. That was a bigger one. But yeah, everything else is just mini hand-dyed stuff that I kind of picked up from different booths around Flock. So it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun like spending the day taking the skeins that I already had bought and like trying to match up other colors from other booths, like, would this look good? And I was constantly looking back at like Elena's inspiration pics for her wedding, and yeah, trying to match the colors kind of as what I saw from her Pinterest board. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do this project. I really enjoyed actually knitting up the Stella quilt cushion. I don't know why I thought going into it that it would just be like plain squares and that I'd get bored and whatever, but the way that she's written this out, you're constantly engaged because there's 4 different ways that she gets you to actually do the different squares, and it uses short rows. I think all of them use short rows in some way, but it's really engaging because you kind of get to switch it up slightly each time. The other thing is that you're picking up stitches. This is not seamed like really at all. Everything is like you're picking up stitches from the previous round, which I appreciate immensely because I do not want to be seaming things at all. The only sewing that I did was just on this little section, which was my own modification where I sewed it down there. But, and it looks quite clean, I think. Yeah, very, very, very clever of a pattern, and when I opened the pattern up at first, I was like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of information here. I don't know what to do with all of this, but she walks you through it really well. It's very intuitive in a way, like it's clever. It's clever in the way that I would never be able to think of that myself, but it's intuitive in the way that once you start, you're like, this is perfect. Like I know what I'm doing. So I really, really enjoyed doing this, and I might do another one, to be honest. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, I finished another sweater for my daughter. This is the Marienlyst sweater by Guri Pedersen, or Imdi Blomst, I think is what her Instagram handle is. I'm not sure. I'll write it down, of course. And yeah, this is all finished. I took this project everywhere with me. I took it to the lake to knit on it while we had a fire. I took it to a trip to Vancouver Island with me. I took it to the forest to work on in a hammock. I did a lot of outdoor knitting with this one, which was really fun to kind of look back on and remember now that it's finished. And I knitted this with 2 skeins. I used exactly 2 skeins of Myrtle Yarn's Natural Decay in the colorway Mustard Seed. And this yarn I picked up at Fiber West in March, at the end of March. And my daughter actually she helped pick out the color and everything that she wanted. And then I picked the pattern. And I chose a very gender neutral one, just so that any other future children that come along can wear it. And it doesn't really matter what the gender is. So this was really simple to do. It's just knits and purls. There's nothing else really about the pattern. There's no short row shaping in this at all, but the neckline does scoop down quite a bit, so I don't think it's going to be bothersome. So the front and back are completely the same. I haven't put a label in or anything to decide what is going to be the front, so I think, yeah, we'll see. But it is a little bit too big on her now, which is perfect because it will fit her in the fall. And I am really looking forward to seeing her wear it. It was a very, easy but not boring kid knit to bring along with me to places. I also knitted this on the ferry, actually. So, yeah, sat outside on the deck when I was feeling a bit nauseous inside. And I was able to knit on this without looking so that I could just keep my eye on the horizon. So that's quite fun. And yeah, a simple sweater to add to her wardrobe, which is just perfect. I will also quickly mention that I finished the cross sweater by PetiteKnit that I was working on for my friend for her baby's birthday. He just turned 1. So I'll just insert a picture here, but I've already gifted it. And I talked about that 2 videos ago if you were interested in that at all. But yeah, it was a quick knit. I enjoyed working it up. I hope he gets a lot of good wear out of it next winter. And yeah, that's pretty much all I'll say about that. It's just that I finished it. Okay, one last thing to talk about, but I don't have it like with me right now to actually show you, but I will insert pictures and B-roll footage and whatever, is that I decided to knit myself a shawl to go with my bridesmaid dress for Elena's wedding, because we were given a lot of freedom to decide kind of what sort of outfit we wanted. She wanted it to sort of be like a little bit of a longer dress, not maxi, but like, is it called like T-length or midi maybe? Like a midi length dress. She wanted us to all wear neutral sandal heels, and we were assigned a color, but other than that, we could kind of do what we wanted freely. So I actually ended up purchasing a white cotton summer dress and then dyeing it yellow because I couldn't find the right shade of yellow in a bridesmaid's dress. And I also wanted to be able to just use this dress other times besides this wedding. So I dyed it a couple weeks ago, and it did turn out a little bit darker than I expected. I used RIT dye and I did dilute it more than what the instructions called for because I wanted to build the color up. But it still ended up being a little bit too saturated, unfortunately. I am going to run it through the wash, I think 1 or 2 more times to see if I can get some of the dye out. I don't know if I will be able to. Elena says it's fine, but anyway, I was a little bit discouraged after that happened. And then I decided that I'm going to knit myself a shawl to wear as well in a more pastel yellow to kind of bring the lighter tones into my outfit. So I went out to the yarn shop 2 weeks ago and I picked up just yellow DK yarn that fit the color. And I wasn't really too fussed about the fiber content because normally I would always be looking for natural fibers, but in this circumstance I was really just looking for the right color. So I ended up going with Estelle Double Knits. This is a yarn that I actually have used before, and it is a 50% acrylic, 40% wool, and 10% nylon. So it's mostly synthetic. It does have some wool in it, but as far as synthetics go, this is the only like mostly synthetic yarn that I have ever used that doesn't feel like you're actually just knitting with plastic. It feels woollier than others that I've used before. So because I knew how it felt, and then I've worked with this yarn before and I knew how it kind of like blocks out and everything, I was comfortable using it. So I got it in the color 65594, which I don't know if it has a name or whatever, but yeah, it's like a buttery pastel yellow, which I know butter yellow is so popular right now. Everyone is knitting. I feel like everyone's knitting with butter yellow all of a sudden, whereas like a few years ago it was very like that was an old-fashioned color. We don't knit with that color anymore. So it's just funny, things come around again. And then I ended up knitting with it anyways in the trend, but not because of the trend, but because of this wedding and the color assignment that I was given. But yeah, I used the shawl pattern that I went for. I knitted up the Beach Day shawl by Sari Nordlund. And this one is one that I've kind of had my eye on for a little while. This is my first time knitting like a full-sized shawl. And it is a lace pattern with just eyelets, decreases, and then knits and purls. That's it. That's the whole thing. And then you're following a chart the whole time, which I really appreciate. I don't like written instruction for stuff like that. I want to look at a chart. So you're following the chart, and yeah, the shawl is actually meant to be, the pattern makes it smaller, and I wanted to make it larger. So it starts on the middle top of the long section of the triangle, if that makes sense, and then you're increasing. Yes. Yeah. You're increasing to make it like big. Very technical jargon there for you. So the chart is 24 rows, and then Sari Nordlund calls for you to repeat the chart 3 times to make the length that she's knitted it up in her sample. But then it also says, you know, continue the chart if you want to make it longer or whatever. So I actually repeated the chart 6 times so that it's like double the amount of chart length, I guess, as what's called for in the pattern, to make it very big. And the reason why I can't show it to you right now is because it's wet and it's blocking, but I will insert B-roll footage of me like wrapping it around or something. Yeah, so I blocked it last night and it's still drying right now. But super exciting. I was very nervous that I wouldn't be able to finish it on time. My goal was to do 5 pattern repeats. I did that and decided that it wasn't long enough, so I wanted to do a 6th. And because you're increasing stitches every single time and your rows become so much longer, by the end of it, 1 row of just stockinette, not even like an eyelet row, like a lace motif row, just a stockinette row, would take me about 25 minutes. So I was struggling to get through this. I also knitted this on 5mm needles, just to make it a little bit more airy, a little bit more open, and a little bit bigger. But yeah, it was really fun at the beginning, and at the end it was a bit of a slog, which, I mean, a lot of patterns are like that, but yeah, the rows were killing me at the end. I was like, last night I was like, okay, I got 3 rows left, I'm gonna finish this, and it was just like so much work, and then binding off and weaving the ends in. Like, I spent too many hours doing that last night. And then I soaked it in the night. So that's all finished. I'm going to take it to France with me. Yeah, the wedding is in the south, in Provence, so it's going to be hot, but the wedding is until 4 a.m. Is this a normal French thing? Someone please tell me. The wedding doesn't end until 4 a.m. So I'm assuming that I'll be able to wear it in the evening and in the night. I don't know. Anyhow, I'm glad that it's finished, and I'm feeling a lot better about it, because I was stressing like 2 days ago that I wasn't going to get it finished before the trip. Finished and blocked. So yeah, that's all done. I'm excited. I think it will be a really nice me-made addition to my bridesmaid's outfit. So yeah. Okay, another work in progress, which I really need to get back on as well, is, don't laugh, this butterfly. She is currently a 1-winged butterfly because I need to do the second one, and then she needs her antennas, and she comes with a little cocoon that you can stick her in, and I've just started that, so I need to finish that. I need to do her second wing and her antennas, and this is going to be a gift for my friend's baby, who I'm going to see at the wedding. She lives in the UK. We are friends from when we used to live in the UK, and she had a baby in November, and I shipped her a bunch of stuff, but now obviously her baby is a little bit older and has outgrown some of the things that I've knitted for her, so I wanted to just give her a little gift, because we're going to see them and meet her for the first time in a week. So I need to finish it. I don't think it will take me long. It was just a little wing, and anyway, yeah. So it's really cute. But I'm not super good at embroidery, so the face is like a bit off, I feel like. I don't know. It's cute, right? Anyhow. That's fun. And then I'm just using scrap yarn. So this is like all scraps of leftover from like this and a few other projects. So all scrap yarn for stuff like that. Right, that's finished. And so that is this, and finishing this are my only active whips at the moment. So I need to decide what I want to bring with me as my active project in France. I think I'm going to do just another kid knit, something for my daughter, because it's easy, it's small and portable, and often it's on like small gauge. So one of my anxieties about traveling with knits is that I'll finish my project before the end of the trip. Because I don't want to. I want to continue doing it. So I am going to bring something that's probably on a very tight gauge so that I definitely don't finish it on the trip, and then have nothing to work on throughout the rest of the trip. So we'll see. I haven't decided yet. I have a lot of stash yarn that I could just pull out and work with that has enough for like a kid knit. So you'll probably see updates about that on Instagram if you follow me. I will probably post like pictures of my knit out in France. So yeah, we'll see. I have not given it that much thought, and I should, because we're leaving in 3 days. Okay, those are all the projects that I wanted to share. I do have a few acquisitions that I would just like to show really quick. I have been given a very nice gift, and I also have been doing a little bit of shopping. So we'll start with the shopping bits. First thing is that at the beginning of May, two of our friends who we knew when we lived in the UK came to visit together. So one of them is from the UK and the other one was from Norway. And so we were all friends in the same friend group, and they decided that they were going to come together to visit us here in Canada. They have never been to Canada before, so that was super exciting. So we have a lot to explore in our hometown. We're completely spoiled for nature spots here in Chilliwack. And so there's lots to show here in my hometown, but we also wanted to show them a little bit more of BC, so we took a trip to Vancouver Island. And I haven't been to the island since I was 14, I want to say, and I've only been twice, when I was 14 and once when I was 6, 5, I don't know. So I haven't really been, to be honest. So we went to Victoria. We started off in Victoria, and then we drove up and stayed in Port Alberni for a couple of nights. So in Victoria, I got to go to the Beehive Wool Shop for the first time ever, and this is my go-to ordering shop, like when I order online, because I always try to support small business when I'm ordering, and a small local provincial business is what I'm going for, and they have the best selection out of any yarn store in the area that I know of, and also the best rate on shipping. So I went there for the first time, and I had it in my mind that I was going to buy like a sweater's quantity of something there, because I wanted to support them. And then I have been craving doing like a big sweater for myself again, or a cardigan rather. So I picked up PetiteKnit, which I've never done a full garment in, but obviously I've heard so many good things about it. PetiteKnit by Sannes Garn, in the color, I think this is like Tutti Frutti Speckles or something, 1044. I'll find out what the actual name is. Tutti Frutti Speckles or something like that. Anyway, and then this is the matcha one, I'm pretty sure. 9564. So they had a bunch of skeins of this, and then only 5 skeins of this. So I have 5 of this and 5 of this, I think I have 5 of each. And I'm going to do the Olga jacket by PetiteKnit. So I think a lot of people have knitted that specific pattern with these colors. I keep seeing it on my Instagram. I had in mind that I maybe wanted to do that one because I like a fun cardigan. And I haven't knitted myself a cardigan in a very, very long time. And all the other cardigans that I've knitted for myself, I wasn't quite happy with, so I don't wear them. Actually, I gifted them both to my mother, so I don't even have them anymore. So I need a cardigan for myself. And I saw this combination on Instagram a lot. I also saw the speckles with like a yellow on Instagram a lot. So I had it in my mind that I was either going to do a yellow or green, depending on how I felt when I walked into the store. But they didn't have any yellow in PetiteKnit, so I went with the green. And I sold them out of this one. And yeah, I have not cast it on. I have been resisting. It's been a month since I bought these, but I really needed to just finish working on this and this and this. So I have held off. And I could bring this as my project for France, but I honestly don't. I don't want to be knitting on something that large of a gauge. But this project is going to get too big and too out of hand too quickly, I feel like. So I'll bring something smaller with me. But I think as soon as I get back from France at the end of June, I will cast this on so that I have it ready for fall. I'm really excited about this. I have the skeins are on display right now just to like give me inspiration and get me excited about the project. So I have them kind of next to my knitting crafting area in just like a nice little way. So that is my only yarn purchase as of late. The other purchase that I made for myself is that I walked into our local bookshop downtown called The Bookman in Chilliwack, and it's a fantastic bookstore. Fantastic. They have cats also. So right now I think there's 4 cats living there, and they're up for fostering or adoption. I can't remember. Anyway, there's cats kind of in and out. Sometimes you go there and there's more or there's less, but it's a really good bookstore, and it's yeah, if you're in the Chilliwack area, I recommend popping into the Bookman because it's fantastic. Anyway, I found Making Memories by Claudia Quintanilla. This is in Lene Publishing. 25 timeless knitting patterns for children. And I know of Claudia Quintanilla, and I've seen her patterns, and they're gorgeous, and I've seen the Lene books and magazines, but I have never purchased one myself or knitted a pattern from this or anything. So I was flipping through, and just some of the patterns are absolutely stunning. Like everything Claudia Quintanilla does is really, really, really dainty and beautiful and like professionally done. Like her photography is amazing, but also just the way that the knits is so professional and so clean and so like feminine. Anyway, I really, really like the way that her patterns look. So I'll give you a couple of teasers. Okay, this is the Claudita cardigan, and it has embroidery on it. This cardigan is called Wheat, and it's inspired by the windswept prairies of Canada. There's also the Luca cardigan, which is a nice textured knit. And the last one I'll show you is the Angel Trumpet sweater. Anyways, really beautiful, kind of classic, timeless, feminine pieces. There's like some here that are definitely gender neutral. They're not all just like for little girls, but I have a little girl, so I'm drawn to those. And yeah, definitely the type of style that I would knit for my daughter as well. So I'm excited to choose a couple of these to knit for her in the next few years. And flipping through this book is just such a treat. I'm really, really glad that I found this in the shop. Okay, one last acquisition, which I'm super excited for, and it came in the mail yesterday. This is my gift from my husband for our wedding anniversary. So on Thursday, June 5th, we are celebrating 9 years married. And so he wanted to get me something something nice that I would use and enjoy for my knitting, because that's what I spend most of my free time on. And so he bought me a Luca knitting set. So this is, yeah, I'm sure you know what this is. These are really nice, high quality needles that I never thought that I would own. But yeah, he knew about this. I didn't ask for this or anything or mention it. He was like, I was doing research on knitting needle sets because I have a needle set that I bought when I first started knitting, and it's a metal set that's like made quite cheaply, and I don't like the clinking, I don't like the squeaking of the needles. And he knows that I don't like them, so he did research on different knitting needle sets, and he came up with the Luca ones. And I was like, he came to me and he's like, I want to get you something nice, and this is what I'm thinking. And he moves his laptop around to like the website, and I was like, what? You can't be serious. So yeah, and then he told me to pick which one I wanted, so I did. There's so many options. I didn't realize there were that many options. I went with the Driftwood Interchangeable Circular Birchwood Knitting Needle Set, 3.5-inch needles. Whew, okay, so that's the label. Yeah, so there are sets, from what I could see from the website, there are sets of different types. They have the copper needles, the bamboo needles, the driftwood needles. Like, there's a bunch of different ones. You choose your set type, I guess, and then you choose your length of needles, like if you want shorter or longer, and then you choose how many needles you want in your set. So, and also the color of your pouch. There was lots of pouch color options. I went with the 3.5 one because I really like a short needle, especially to do like sleeve. I like knitting sleeves in the round until I can't, and then have to switch to double pointed needles. I don't want to do the whole thing on DP-ends, and I hate magic loop. So I went with a shorter needle. I went with the set of 9 instead of the set of 12 because the set of 12 had extra sizes in the upper sizes instead of in the lower sizes. So I actually use a lot of the small needles, like 2.5 millimeter, 3 millimeter. I use those all the time, but they didn't have those in, like, Luca doesn't make ones that small. They start at 3.25. And then if you get a set of 9, then the needle goes up to 6.5 millimeters. And then if you get the set of 12, it goes up to like 10 millimeters or something like that, I think. But I never use sizes that big. So the set of 9 is fine for me. 6.5 is like the biggest I'll ever use, I think. This is what it looks like on the inside. As you can see, I've already taken the smallest needle size out because I was going to use it for a swatch to see what project I wanted to take with me to France. And the smallest size is 3.25 millimeters, and then 3.5, 3.75, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5. So those are the sizes that come in this set. In this pouch underneath, there are all my cables and my little keys and my needle stoppers and everything. And then for whatever reason, we have this feature where you can prop them up, and all your needles are propped up and displayed in a fancy way. And then you just pop it back down to close up. So it feels very nice. It'll get so much use out of it, and I'm really excited to knit with these needles for the first time. I always prefer a wooden needle to a metal needle, always. I know some people like metal for different styles, like lace and things, but I always prefer wooden. So I'm excited to have a really nice set of that. And such a generous gift from him to me for our wedding anniversary, so I'm very grateful. So that's everything that I wanted to talk to you about today. I have to run and go pick up my daughter from her grandparents' house now, so I will say goodbye to you and happy summer. Oh, I will just say really quickly that this past week we finished up the Birds Are Back knit along, and it was really fun. It was really fun. There were about 40 participants, I think, in the chat, and then people were posting on their Instagram about it using the hashtag, and the amount of different projects that people did and the different variety of projects that people did it was just amazing. The inspiration in that group chat, it was really enjoyable. Okay, happy June.